Do you know what it's like to get like direct confirmation from the universe when you're on the right track? Is that not like no matter how lost you feel, like that's a today's the first day I didn't see 333, and I made a big change yesterday to protect my energy, and it's very clear that it worked. So I realized what the threes were telling me the whole time, and I just wasn't listening. Um, so I don't have a lot to say, but the update is like definitely listening to the universe is the right thing to do rather than fight it. My selfish wants and desires are wrong. There's something I want to talk about on a new subject. So, this is a subject near and dear to me. Um, Carl Jung, my fucking hero, talked about a time when he was young and he was at home and he heard a loud bang. And he went into the next room and he saw that the big, like, oak table had been split in half spontaneously. And then he recounted another time that he heard a commotion in the cupboard, and when he opened it, uh, a knife was broken in three pieces, like it spontaneously broke. And he was recounting these things to Sigmund Freud. Um, and Freud was basically saying there's like a sorry, I'm getting text from someone. Freud was saying that there's a logical explanation for it, and there's no such, you know what I mean? There's no such phenomenon. So, um, as they're having this conversation, please stop texting me. As they're having this conversation, there's a loud bang in the bookshelf next to them that startles both of the men, and a bunch of books come tumbling to the floor. And then Jung's like, see, it does exist. You can't say it doesn't, you just saw it. And Freud was again like, nah, like I don't know what it was, but there's a logical explanation. And Jung said it's going to happen again, and then it happened again, and more books tumbled. And then he describes it as Freud looked at him aghast, and so no answer. So that's the father of psychology who says like that's the guy who doesn't have an answer for that experienced it and like just dismissed it versus the guy who's like, let me figure out what that is, and then found the path of alchemy and all this stuff. Like, my boy Jung is the guy. He's the guy. Now, the reason I know he's the guy is I've had similar experiences. And it's not something I talk about because you sound like a Looney Tune. You know, when I was a kid, I had supernatural experiences almost like all the time. And like I went to the adults because I was afraid, and they had no answers. It was just like, shut up, kid. You know what I mean? Like, there was always an explanation that negated what I was seeing and feeling and experiencing. And then getting into adulthood, I had to do that to my own memory. I had to separate myself from it and decide that I just had an active imagination as a kid. Because what do you do with it? Um, but when I was 25, I was in grad school and I went on like a cross country trip with a couple of friends. And we stayed at a place that was a former Civil War hospital and a former plantation. And at this time in life, I had never uh, had a sip of alcohol. Obviously, never did any drugs. Like, don't even like taking medicine. And I experienced something in this place, and then I Googled it. I Googled the place, and it's famous for a story that resonated with my own experience. like something happened to someone else a long time ago that was exactly like what I experienced, and I had nowhere to put it. I'm in the middle of grad school. I remember like while we were driving, I was typing in the front seat, and I didn't have like a chance to reanalyze like what was that? What are we like? I would tell people I was an atheist, but like that was never an option. There's always I know there's something since I was a little kid, and maybe thinking there's something that you manifest it. There's totally an argument for that, but it's something human beings have been talking about for thousands of years. Like, how is it possible? In every culture, isolated, they have their own versions of all these things, and I'm fascinated by it. But as a kid, I was terrified by it. And I want like I have so many stories, um, but academic interests. Like once I heard Jung had similar experiences, and then obviously he's the inventor of the word synchronicity. Um, I believe that we all have the ability to perceive these things, perceive synchronicity, and perceive the divine nature of things, and um, proof of a creator. Um, and I'm glad it seems like there's more and more people that are at least open to the idea, at least that are coming into my life now. So like this, it's interesting because when Jung had the experience with the academic woman who refused to believe there's a higher order and spiritual nature to things, and he presented her the beetle, the scarab beetle from her dream. Um, I would assume like this girl that lives close to me is talking about uh, like she's very academically intelligent and has this um, spiritual side, which is rare to have both. Like you're usually closed off when you're academically smart. And she asked me how I'm doing today, and I was like, fine. And then um, I don't know what started the conversation in this direction. Um, I just said like a couple things, and she's like, "Wow, can I love you?" I was like, "What?" And then she said, "Do you mind if I call you my spiritual teacher?" I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna assume something was lost in translation there, but I was like, you shouldn't take my word for it. I'm just telling you what I've read. Like, it doesn't mean I'm right. I am right, but you don't know that." Um, so I'm glad there's like other people at least open to exploring like how we are creating our own realities, how we are manifesting certain experiences in our life. Um, and yeah, I guarantee you, if I didn't have firsthand experience, like I would have the same life everybody else has. I would just be after money, and nothing would have any meaning. Um, and although my path is different and lonely and obscure, um, I can't live like how I see other people living. It's just like it's a waste of time. It looks like it's like you're just existing. You're not learning anything. Most people after college they don't read a book. They're done learning. They're done growing. And I think we're supposed to I've learned more in the last 3 years than the culmination of my entire formal education. And then I have like a brief conversation with this lady, and she's like, "Wow, this is the most profound stuff I've ever heard." I'm like, "Well, thank you. It's nice to be appreciated." Um, but I was thinking about these phenomena, right? It was just like it's been circling. There's a few times I journaled about it, and then ended up not posting it or whatever because I haven't really like thought the idea out all the way. And then I just stumbled upon a YouTube video that was talking about seers. Seers is like 1% of the population who sees like a deeper layer of reality. Like how the you ever see a watch, you turn it over and you see like the inner workings. It's like I resonated a lot with this video, and it talks about how like it's a lonely path. It talks about how your relationships go. It talks like everything that it says. Like fuck, that's like. But then my like self-defeating, self-sabotaging voice in my head is like, like you wish you were special, guy. You know what I mean? Like it's. I had someone tell me before that I'm a seer, um, and I felt like she was grooming me for something, so I didn't really take it to heart. But the fact that I could see she was grooming, I guess, is proof of that, right? It's like I know what you're doing. I know you're trying to trick me. So no to everything else you said. Um, but today, synchronicity wise, um, I was paying attention to. And I was like, any signs and symbols? Like, show me that did I pass my test? Did I understand what the threes meant finally? Didn't see any threes. I saw 111 a lot. So new beginnings. So I assume that that's the sign you get when you are on to the next thing. And then I saw 222, which is more or less the same thing. It's like a continuation. Um, and I suppose I was closed off to the idea of like I met two women that are like super spiritual and eager to listen to everything that I say, and I was really closed off to it. And I realized like, woo wait, I'm supposed to just you mean like what was the point of me reading all this shit if I don't tell anybody? What is the point of me learning all this shit if the people that want to know I'm like no. Um, so in addition to learning the lesson of the threes is now life is in flow again. Now like work is easy. Now like everything is just going as it should. It's like, okay, it was me. I understand. I wasn't getting something. I get it. Um, but on the subject of this, like while I was seeing the threes, I didn't want the answer to be what it ended up being. To be fair, like that's the holdup. Like I knew, and I just was like, please no. And I have a khale, an aunt, who reads cards. And I was like, if anyone knows about numbers, it should be her, right? So um, I call her and tell her that like a bunch of spiritual like shit has been happening to me over the past few years. I don't really have anyone to talk about it. And like it must be in the blood. Like you must know something. And she just read my cards, which is like that's not what I wanted. And I don't really believe in it. And the first, she's like, the first part is there's an older man and a younger man that sent you bad energy, but you're past that now, and everything's gonna be fine. I was like, okay, I don't know who that could be, but okay. It's like vague. And then the second part, she's like, there's a girl coming in. Congratulations. I was like, okay. And you know, I don't want to just hold on to something because it sounds nice. And then she said that you'll be moving soon. I was like, oh, like my lease is up in September. Like I didn't tell her I was moving. So fuck, maybe there's something to it. But maybe there is something to it. Now, here's another thing. When I was little, I'm gonna tell you like a personal story that like I know you're not gonna believe, but put yourself in my shoes and imagine this was your experience and imagine how you'd see everything differently. Your life would never be the average life because I know something I can't see exists. I know that energy that I can't see is conscious. So I grew up in a house in Mission Viejo, um, and from 1989, 88 till 2000, I lived there. I moved in high school, and there was a dark room attached to the house. That's where, in the 70s, you would, or earlier, you would develop photos, like in Ghostbusters when they caught fire, and it fucking was the creepiest place for a child to see because even when you open the door, it's built in a way where light doesn't come in and fuck up your photos. But if you walk in there, the only light is a red light, which looks like a portal to hell. It looks like you hit the light and then the floor opens up and then demons come fuck you in the ass or whatever happens. I don't know. Um, so I was terrified of this room. And of course, my parents use it as storage because they're not using my bicycle and toys. So they're like, it goes in there where in the fucking goes into the demon closet. And anything I could touch with one foot in fucking freedom in the sunshine, I could still have in my life. Anything that was two steps in was dead to me. It's like, we don't need to go buy candy today. You know what I mean? I can't reach. A couple times I turned on that light and I fucking hated the feeling in there. Normal kid shit. You know what I mean? That's understandable. Now follow me. Eventually, we didn't need a dark room. Like, I had other things happen that you could explain as a child with an active imagination. But there was one time I had a friend over during the daytime. We were going to the pool, and we're both sitting like on a couch like this next to each other. I was like, it was a bed actually. I was like, Charlie, do you believe in ghosts? He's like, yeah, I believe in ghosts. I don't know why he answered like that. And then a chair in front of us tipped over. Now, this is, mimics the Jung thing. It's like I watched it tip over. Now, it didn't just fall. Like it wasn't like a string it was attached to or something. It went from a standing position to the shoulder of it was an inch off the ground, and then it stood back up. Right after I asked the question, right in front of him, and we ran out of the room screaming. And every year I would ask him, I was like, "Do you remember that happening?" He's like, "Yeah, that was crazy." Every year, and then we lost touch for a while. When I saw him when we were in high school, he's like, "What? No?" I was like, "You motherfucker! How do you? Why do you leave me alone with this?" Um, Now they eventually turned the garage into a bedroom, and then because no one's using a dark room, they sealed the outside. The frame was still there, so they just used it as the closet for the bedroom. And while we had a live-in babysitter, she lived there, probably doing Santeria or some shit based on my experiences. Um, but eventually, it became my bedroom. Now, it is not like a homey place. It was a big room, and I didn't mind that, but it's like it didn't feel like a home, and there's like a lot of doors between me and other family members. Like door, then I can get to somebody, and then everybody else was upstairs. Um, and I'm telling you, every single night I'd hear the walls creak. Maybe that's not weird. Um, I would tell my dad, like, yeah, the walls are creaking in my room, and he's like, the wood's expanding and contracting. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But this is what was happening. Like you've been in like a cabin like you go skiing or something and you hear random stress pops. It's not that. It would start from the closet and then move its way. I would hear as it moved, and then it would get near my head. I would just hear the creaking in the wall next to my head, and then I'd feel someone playing with my hair. Now I had to be like, I would like freeze and pretend I was asleep. Like this is a nightly occurrence for a child, and I'm like, what can I do? I can't even like if I get up and run, this thing's on top of me. My family's fucking miles away. Um, and it was like it was all the time. So I had to logic my way out of it. I was like, well, when you get goosebumps, your hair stands up. So maybe like the muscles at the base of the follicle are doing something when you go to sleep. I thought everybody felt this when they go to sleep. It's just tingling on the side of my head that's exposed. Um, which again, like it's so long, it's a lifetime ago now, 30 years ago. Like how am I supposed? This is my memory of the thing happening. So me telling you now is like, eh. So I doubted it. Now let's let's make it get weirder. When I was little, if people asked me what I wanted to do, I said I want to be a pilot. I always wanted to be a pilot. I like my brother was playing with Legos and shit, and I was like, I don't want to play, but I would build an airplane and fuck around with that. Anytime I got like allergy shots, if they gave me 4 shots in my arm, I would get like a styrofoam airplane in a little package, and nothing made me happier than these fucking shitty things. Like you could buy a million of them for $20, and for some reason my parents were really cheap about it. So just make your son happy. The fuck. Um, they had little plastic propellers, and they didn't go far, but you could pretend. Um, so the other thing is, I don't know where this idea came from, but I was convinced I was going to die in that house when I turned 40. I like I don't know I don't know when it started. I don't know, but like I even when we moved out of the house, I would like cautiously walk around thinking and feeling like, do I feel something? Is there some shit going on here? I stayed there during COVID, um, when I had COVID. I mean, and I never experienced anything. But now here's the other thing. I was scared of the fucking closet, just like I was scared of the dark room, and it didn't register to me that it was the same room. It just felt creepy in there. So when it was a closet, I had the same rules. Like the clothes in the back, we're done with. It's like until we're moving, we ain't seeing this shit. But the clothes at the front, even though it was FUBU and I was a white kid, we get to use these. Um, no one gave me the menu. What is the word I want? Memo. No one gave me the memo that it meant for us by us. Um, and I wanted to be black. I don't know what to tell you. Just like every other suburban kid. So I listened to the first CD I ever bought was Naughty by Nature, 1999. Um, it was a decent CD. Anyways, so I was scared of the closet. Some fucking thing is coming around and like sexually assaulting me in my sleep every night, or flirting with me. I don't know what the fuck the point was. Um, and eventually, like one day, I don't know if I was 12 or 13, I was like doing laundry or like hanging up clothes. So I would hang up the clothes by doing everything in the middle of the room and then hanging it up once. So I have to make one trip to the shitty part of the room. And I had this feeling that I was very familiar with by this time, that I'm being watched, that something's in the room and looking, specifically looking down at me. I could almost see from its vantage point. And it's like someone's hanging out right here. And I was like, fuck you. You're dead. Leave me alone. This isn't your house. Something like that. And the light in the room got brighter, and this weight lifted off my shoulder, and nothing ever happened again. Like I knew immediately it was gone. And again, whether this is like a purely psychological thing and it was me conquering my imaginary demons, fine, I accept. But We moved shortly after, like kind of my parents looked at houses all the time. It wasn't weird, but all of a sudden they're like, "You want to look at a house?" I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Oh, we're moving. We're gonna buy the house that we looked at." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Um, so we move, and my parents still kept that house that I grew up in. Every nightmare I ever had um, that happened at a house was in that house in my mind. Um, Not anymore, but for a very long time. Now, one day, my mom's watering the plants, and a dog just shows up and sits on the lawn and watches her, just hangs out. And I was like, "Were you scared?" My mom's telling me this like randomly. I was like, "Were you scared?" Because she's terrified of dogs. She's like, "He was just sitting there, so I let it." And then this car pulls up, and the lady's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We used to live here. The dog was born here, and when she runs away, she comes back to where she was born." I was like, "Oh, you're the people we bought the house from." Oh, and the lady says, "Love what you've done with the place. It looks great." And then my mom was like, "Why did you guys move?" She's like, "Well, this was my husband's best friend's house, and he was a pilot, and he died when he was 40. And then we bought the house from him, and then my husband died when he was 40, also a pilot. And then my mom, like, kind of, she's like, "Oh, my son used to say this place was haunted." And the lady got upset and left without saying anything. And when my mom finished talking, I was like, "Say everything you said again very fucking slowly. I need to hear every detail." And she wouldn't repeat it. I was like, "I need to hear this. I need to hear what happened. Excuse me. What are the odds of that?" Now, I'll tell you what I'm not going to do next year, even in case, is I'm not going to go to that fucking house for any reason. I probably shouldn't go this year either. I'm 39. But why not break the cycle? What are the fucking odds of that? Now tell me what you would think. What would in your me? What is your hey? Do you want to talk about fucking football? No, I want to talk about what the actual effing fuck is going on in this world. What are we? What is this? Do I have a soul? Who's in charge? So that's like how do you have other interests now? You know what I mean? I mean, I do have other interests, but it's like what why also do I have the ability to experience these things and the people around me didn't? Like my siblings and my parents didn't have any stories like this. And when the movie The Sixth Sense came out, I was fucking terrified. I was like, "This is a documentary, and fuck this M Night Shyamalan guy." Um, but like in my adulthood, now when I started like being established, I finished grad school, I started a business, I was starting to get some success. All of a sudden, I revisited. I'm like, "Well, what was all this shit? What was that thing I experienced at that hotel? What was it that I experienced as a child?" And I was revisiting it, and I thought, well, there we must have souls. That was the soul, obviously, of someone who passed in that house, or both of them tag teaming me in my sleep. I wonder if they were pedophiles, because who has a dark room in their house? Someone who doesn't want fucking Costco to see their pictures. I wonder. I really do. Maybe they're nice people, but also like, well, why are you fucking with a child in his sleep, in his pretend sleep, feeding off my fear? I imagine. Um, and why wasn't he in heaven? Ah, aha, aha. Where's the spoon? Okay, so uh, I understand this is all weird stuff, but I live in a different world than everybody around me. I have big questions that need to be answered. So when life started slowing down and I didn't have to, you know, it wasn't hard anymore. I knew I had a safety net, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I started climbing this, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, we have souls. There must be a God. And then that sentence has caused me uh, so many issues in my life. So I thought there was a devoutly religious family in my life, and I thought, oh, if there's a God, He put these people here so that I, have a route. I wouldn't have sought it out myself, but I tried to logic it. I'm like, okay, if there's a God, then these people must be the people that say they talk to and for God must be it. And then it turned out to be way not the case, if anything, the opposite. And I decided there must not be a God. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Because I came from a place of logic and I'm also going through other people. Interestingly, at this time in my life, as soon as I thought there must be something, every fucking person, like random people, come up to me trying to like make me believe their version of God. Like I got picked up by a taxi from the airport and he's telling me he was like an end times pastor and he's telling me, oh, the big one's coming in October. The power's going to be off in 3 days and God's doing it to, you know what I mean, punch the gays, or I don't know what the fuck it was. And I was like, I don't think God's in charge of San Diego Gas and Electric. Like, shut the fuck up. Can I, like, you know what I mean? Find my own way? Who are you? Shut up all the way. Um, I had, yeah, so many people try to influence me and be like, this is how you should think. This is how you should, you know what I mean? This is what God is. This is what God is. And I'm like, okay, I'm smart enough. You know what I mean? I can read, so I'll read and I'll decide for myself. And my version of God most resembles what Jung talks about. This is kind of Buddhism. It's kind of Zoroastrianism. It's like the older the spiritual practice, the closer it is to the truth. We're just the further it is away, we're forgetting. Um, and the path to God is a path inward. That makes sense. It doesn't make sense that God needs my money or needs me to talk to a pedophile behind a veil and tell him my secrets. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And then like the other religions, that's like, it wasn't good news when the Spanish showed up in their ships to convert you. I mean, like there a lot of people are gonna die. And when the Arabs invaded Iran, like it wasn't like, hey, can you guys please do this? It was done by force. A lot of people, like I guarantee you, a lot of people still carry the trauma from when that happened because uh, men were killed, women and children were taken as slaves. You can do whatever you want to them. Like that will leave a mark. And look at Iran now. Those men pretending to speak for God. It's laughable. Like, so your version of God is so weak, he needs you to do things for him, execute like young women for showing their hair. So you don't believe in God. Stop. You know what I mean? This God doesn't need you for that. I promise. But God does. Like I think it's kind of like a video game where there's like ground rules. Do I think he's like individually fucking with us all the time? It's like, no, there's how would I do it? If you kill someone, bad karma. If you get away with it in this life, next life you have to pay for it. Does it make sense that there's eternal damnation because we don't know what the fuck we're doing? So we can make mistakes, and then we can come back. And we have to pay for them. So I thought, for instance, like uh, the women that I dated that had sexual abuse as children um, or in their lives at all. which is like, I cannot believe how common it is. I thought, like, why am I being punished? Why am I the one who's on the receiving end? It's like, I just want peace. I just want to love you. Is that fine? Like, why can't we be cool? Why is there always a problem? And what changed my perspective is like, what if in my previous life I did something like that? Of course, in this life, I'm like, there's no fucking way. But who was I last time? I wouldn't know the things that I know now. And like, it immediately, like, fuck, like, is it my karma? Did something like that happen to me and I don't remember? Like, what is it? Um, and speaking of Jung, that's like an archetype. It's like, in order to become a healer, you have to be wounded. In order to want to heal others, you have to have experienced profound pain. And then, it's hard for us to justify the injustice that we see in the world. Or, this happened to me when I was an innocent child. Why didn't anyone protect me? Where was God? And we take it seriously because all we know is our physical body and this physical world. But if that's not everything, if this is just a blink of time, sounds like a very annoying dog outside. If this is just a blink of time and your soul is eternal forever, like, you don't take it that seriously, then it doesn't mean that much, and it becomes something that you're like, oh, well, I chose to be incarnated this time in this way to learn this lesson or to become this person. So I know someone who, like, lost their mom early, and the dad was abusive, and he's never gotten over it. He's in his 60s, and he's a pastor, and he tells people he got over it because Jesus saved him, but you can tell, like, he didn't do the work. And I know because I'm wired very much like he is. I could see the things that I didn't work on, he has still. So game recognizes game, and he's got a very tight family, and he was a very good father. It's like, if you didn't see how much it affected you, you wouldn't have been this way. And I see, like, generations. I asked my dad what his dad was like, and he's like, we were afraid of him. It's like each generation gets better. Like, imagine the trauma my paternal side had. What is his father like? For him to be like that, or for him to need to numb himself. He, like, died from opium usage. It's not a sign of a healthy person, a healthy psyche. Someone trying to numb themselves is a hurt person. Healthy people don't seek numbing behavior. And it's the tortured that torture. So, I'm the next generation, and then it's my responsibility to work on my shit so I don't fuck up innocent children. There's so many little things that happened to me as a kid that I held on to, and I made it my identity, and it reconfirmed that nobody cares about me, nobody loves me, nobody's gonna, nobody's gonna miss me, shit like this. And I had to ignore a lot of things to just have that, but something triggers a trauma response, and then you live your whole life unconsciously repeating it, unconsciously creating the same situation. And this is why it's important to learn Jungian psychology. He's telling you what you're doing so you can catch it. Then it doesn't, like, it's not a matter of you being like, you seek therapy or couples therapy and you're trying to fix the other person, and it's like the fixing happens to you inside. It's like, it's not just a matter of recognizing your behaviors and patterns. Like, there's a spiritual component, I think. I know what I mean. Like, I have no doubt this is like spiritual school. And everything that I experience, I look at it like this was a spiritual test, and what was the lesson, and the world responds to it. I don't know what to tell you. Like, as far as I can tell, like, it seems like there's a purpose. It seems like there's a direction. It seems like I'm being guided. Now, something I wasn't sure I was going to say or share. There was a few times over the course of um, this year where it really felt like it wasn't, and this is like the thought that came into my head that I was going to die at 40 years. Like, I don't know if this is like I don't know if someone is telling me something. I don't know if someone's planting a seed. I don't know if it's my own subconscious mind somehow connected to something. I don't know what it is, but I felt like someone was trying to guide me somewhere, to someone. And I was like, I wonder. And it was like, I asked out loud. Like, I had a conversation with this person. I was like, I feel like it could be so and so. It's a thought that came to my head, and it was, I don't know if it's a thought or intuition. Um, and then they said, "How do we know?" And I was like, "Well, let's ask the universe. Like, let's ask out loud." Like, I was seeing 777. I was like, "Okay, so if it's so and so, show us 777 again." And then 10 minutes later, I see 777, and it was like on this blue Prius. And I asked my friend, I was like, "Hey, did that have a significant? Did this blue have a significance in his life or the person's life?" And they found out that it was like this deep royal blue that was the deceased person's favorite color, which was like exactly how I would describe, even though Prius is not a very royal thing, but that's what I would describe it as. And I was like, you know, things like that have happened to me before. I was conscious and aware, and I dismissed it. But I know that I know when you ask for an answer and you can get it. I know that the universe is constantly talking to us. We just need to know how to listen. So I lost contact with this person, but I still felt like the feeling that their loved one was trying to get in contact with me. And like, my walls were popping like popcorn, like in this bedroom. And like, I know I had the AC on, it's summer, would expand, contract, but it was like annoying. And then if there's a random pop, like you kind of jolt. And then your mind, I can't see anything. I don't see a person. I'm not like the sixth sense is not sight. It's like being clairsentient is probably the worst thing. It's like someone's in the room. I can't see him or hear him. I don't know if it's good or bad, but someone's here. It's like, there's a fucking, what a shitty superpower. So, um, I like said out loud. I was like, "Is it so and so? Like, are you so and so?" And then I heard like a knock in the wall, and I was like, "Okay." I thought in my YouTube, Wikipedia, whatever research, all the spiritual books and shit I read, is that evil in this world needs your permission, express or implied, and it's constantly trying to get into your life, but you have to give permission, and we're unknowingly giving permission all the time, like drinking liquid death or a cup with a siren on it or Red Bull, like we're consistently, or drinking spirits, like we're consistently doing things that allow this transaction, if it's that, according to what I've read. Don't shoot the messenger. And I uh, I was like, okay, are you so and so? heard a knock on the wall, and I was like, um, maybe maybe guardian angels need us to ask for help as well. That's not something I've ever done. It's not something I do, and I feel like the negative energies are like around all the time, and even in people I meet. But I've never noticed the opposite, and I thought maybe I'm the opposite energy. Maybe that's like what I'm supposed to be. That's why I need to be like strict with how I treat people and what I do in the world, and you know what I mean? Like try to be a good person. Like not try, I have to. I have to. That's why all the trials and tribulations I've been through is like teaching me how I'm supposed to be. And every time I pretend I don't know better, like I 100% see the the correction. I 100% see the consequences of my actions. Um, and it's my own fault, frankly. Um, but anyways, I asked this person to give. I was like, oh, like, can you give my friend a message? Let's test this. Or give me a message. And then I've never had a dream about this person, and I had a dream that night. I don't remember the dream. I wish I did. Um, I don't know what else to say about it. I don't know what the point was. I don't know like I don't know if there was any result either. But um, the next day or two was like extremely quiet. It was like it was like really easy to go to sleep. There was no noises at all, and I was like, that also makes me think like, how is it possible that in the same conditions, one night my room is pop rocks, and another night is like creepy quiet, um, with the AC blasting. It's super cold. So like I don't really journal about this stuff. It's something that I keep close to my heart because I know that to anyone who hasn't experienced it, you'll easily dismiss all the other things that I'm talking about, like the spiritual laws that I've learned and digested and shared. You can test yourself if it's true. You can test it in your own life and see if the same rules apply or not. But this, if it's like if you've never had it, if you've never experienced it, you're unaware of it. Like you know, it challenges everything else that I've said. And then from my perspective, like the only solace I get is I know that in history everybody talked about this. I know that Jung talked about it. I wish so badly that I could meet him and talk to him. Maybe I can. Maybe there's a skill set to do it. He attended seances and shit, which also makes me like he looked into the occult, obviously, because he wanted to learn about it. He wanted to explain what he experienced. Um, from my understanding, Harry Houdini did as well, and he was trying to get in contact with his mom. So he tested a lot of seance people, and to my understanding, he found they were all bullshit because none of them could get in touch with his mom. Mama's boy, just like every nice Jewish kid. Um, yeah, I don't know what to do with this. Like I'm not done with my spiritual journey, but there, like I know that if our energy continues on when our body dies, like there's more to this world. I'll never see it black and white the same way other people do. It's like there's a lot of going on. There's a lot of color, and I see like a when people talk about this kind of stuff or tarot, or I always pay attention to see like I'm willing to listen. When I first moved to this place, there's a guy standing outside who also wanted to groom me. He was a evangelical minister who used to be a satanic priest or some shit. And he's the type of person who says like, "Oh, I've cured this person's blindness or my own blindness and cured this person of cancer." And there's something to be said about the power of suggestion or the placebo effect. Like perhaps he is doing something by just suggesting to someone, "You're healed now by the power of God." Um, but personally, I think that if you had that power, you'd be you'd have an office at the hospital and you'd be doing it for free all day. You'd just be, if it was real, that's what it would look like. But I still gave it a chance and went and saw him talk and saw the people that they're just lost people looking for answers and looking for hope. So like someone says that they're close to God and does work for God, and it's captivating. People are like, "Please help me. You can solve my problem." I think that's incredibly predatory. He told me that he gave me a free ticket to his event, and he's like, "Yeah, when you become a pastor, like I expect the same." I was like, "Well, I would become a pastor, but I don't like lying to people. I have integrity. Like if I don't believe it, I'm not just gonna sell shit." Which also makes it harder for me to be like, I'm on the spiritual path. I'm supposed to do something to help people spiritually. I'm supposed to, I wasn't put here just to make cars faster. I'm supposed to do something with my life. And it's not supposed to just be monetary, because my contribution, like it's my voice. So I'm supposed to help people with their own ascension, I think. Finding their own power, finding their own version of God. Hey, if I did it, I don't think I'm the smartest person who ever lived. But like, no matter what happens to me in my life, like there's a difference between believing in God and knowing. And when they interviewed Carl Jung, like, "Do you believe in God?" He said, "It's hard for me to say because I know God. It's hard to say if I also believe." And you could see his smirk. I was like, this fucking guy knows. And like, the proof is there. So like, how can I, like, no matter how distraught or sad, or like no matter what goes wrong in my life, I'm always like, there's a reason for this. There's a reason, I just don't see it yet. And I know the emotions that I'm feeling when I feel them is to help me. I'm supposed to use that. It's supposed to create something, create a change, create growth, or create awakening, or like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my pain. I wouldn't have so much control over my reality if I didn't have profound pain. And then like the problem is like feeling like I have a purpose that I haven't fulfilled yet. Like that's maddening. Like you can sit in front of the TV and watch Friends for the rest of your life, but it's like, I know I'm supposed to do something that I haven't done yet. And that's why I'm not at the next stage of my life yet. That's why God has not sent my person or allowed me to become a father and all the shit that I want to do. Is because I'm supposed to find a spiritual purpose. And I'm not sure what it is yet. And I think it'll just, this is why you don't seek. Rumi said, what you seek is also seeking you. So I think it'll just happen. I was talking to a friend of mine who said you should have a podcast and then these two like really sweet Persian girls are like so interested in everything I have to say, and I've been an asshole. I've been a dick. I've been closed off. It's like these are the people who were meant to. You know what I mean? They crossed my path at the right time, and I'm supposed to be here and do this, and it wouldn't have happened if I was in a relationship. I would have been closed off. I was closed off even to my good friends that are on a spiritual path. I didn't want to hurt my girlfriend by talking to other women, even though it's like I was celibate for 10 months. You think I waited to be with you to cheat, to start fucking random people? Like, what's the fear here? And I gave more and more of myself up to try and make. You can't make someone else happy. They have to be happy first. Um, but I completely lost my spiritual path and everything that made me whole and filled my cup. I was like, I'm resilient enough, and I know that I can always find my way back. I don't know no matter how lost I get, I know where the path is, and I have the it's an unbreakable thing, knowing that there's a God. You can't convince me otherwise. Nothing like they can say aliens landed at the White House. I'll be like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not fooling me. It's like there has to be. There's no other explanation for the things that I have experienced firsthand. God is like the best father. I was watching a video. Best father in the sense that he allows you to make your own mistakes. Doesn't hold and loves you anyways. You can fuck your whole life up and he'd still. Um, I was watching this video on sacred geometry. I'm taking a class on it this weekend, and he was talking about how symbolism is the universal language, and numbers. It's a mathematical universe. It's like these are, doesn't matter what language you speak, we understand symbols. It's probably why like ancient Egypt was in, you know, they wrote in symbols. And it was fascinating, but it was like really long. Um, and then Jung has a book on man and his symbols. I have it in there. And the idea is that all of human history is in our DNA. If we've made it this far, everything that's happened before us is in us, and we have access to this information, this knowledge. But it's hidden. Like your consciousness has to raise, and there are people that say that they can plug into or read the Akashic records. The Akashic records is like every thought, every conscious thought a human being has ever had is somehow recorded in the cloud somewhere, like in each of us. Um, and then along with that is all the symbols, the symbolism that we all know. Um, it's in us innately. It's like you ever see a dolphin's born and it does all this dolphin shit right away. It's like how come we're useless for so long? It's like we have so much more in us, and we're not taught how to get access to it. And I guess that's kind of what my journey is. Is how do I get there? How do I find out like if I can communicate to spirits, for instance? So what am I doing? What am I doing with my life other than that? Like, what if I'm supposed to help people? Like, how better could I help people? Imagine, that there's a lady on TLC that goes up to random people, like cashiers, and like, oh, your grandfather says he loves you, and they just cry. Um, I think I don't think like it's a, I think all human beings have this ability. It's just like a skill set that you don't know you have. You have to practice. Maybe, I don't know. And then also the shitty thing is if I ever figured it out, there's no way I could tell you. Um, Yeah, the only time I tried was the other night. I was like, hey, give a message to my friend. And then the message I got was a dream I don't remember, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. I'd also heard like when people do divination is like in Christianity is super no no, but like the idea is that sometimes demons could pretend to be loved ones and they know everything about you. So you're not supposed to ask for their help or do anything or whatever. Um, but that night, I didn't feel like scared. I didn't feel like it was bad energy. I didn't feel, and yeah, of all the people for like my grandfather died, why isn't he coming around? Why didn't that come to my mind or my higher self or, you know, it's like, hey, are you that guy? Like, what do you want? Can you speak English? We just have to tap to each other. Um, Ramblings of an insane person. The thing is, Jung said these phenomenon exist, and it's only the ignorant that say it doesn't. And like physics is catching up. Physics is proving that's true now. Like the double slit experiment proves it. Like particles act as waves until they're observed. So like, anyways, um, I thought it would be really creepy to be like, "Hey, is anyone here?" And then hear a loud bang. Um, yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go with this. I mean, like, what I experienced is what I experienced, and I don't exaggerate and I don't lie. But why is not like either more pervasive in my life to the point where I can't ignore it and have to explore it? Like, why is it elusive still? Almost 40. Like, how is it possible? I'm an X-Men character who just hasn't discovered their power yet. Um, I guarantee you, if I ever had a superpower, I would use it for the, I would be a good Superman. I would not be a Homelander. Um, but I don't have absolute power, so I don't know if it would corrupt me, like Frodo's ring. Okay, so that is quite a bit of talking um, about spiritual mumbo jumbo. I have a ton of text now to answer about spiritual mumbo jumbo from people who would love to hear my bullshit. So I'm going to do that. And the other update is protect your energy. Like my energy was leaking, and when I realized where it was going, I was like, ah, damn it. Okay, I understand. It really is like my subconscious was screaming at me, like, you know what to do, and you've known for a long time. It's time to do it. And now, like, immediately things fall, like, so clearly fall into place. Like, I went to dinner and my dinner was free. It's like, that type of shit should happen all the time when you're in flow. Um, Wayne Dyer said that when you're in flow with the universe, synchronicity becomes the norm rather than the exception. so I know if I'm off base. Um, if you're a stranger and you don't know me and you stumble upon this, you know what? I don't know how you did it. Like, I'm definitely not searchable on YouTube. But for anybody that has ever interacted with me in life, and you see this after I died, I want to say that I love you. I hope you know that. I'm probably not good at showing it, and I don't want to tell you in person. It's fucking gay. Um, but yeah, anyone who's come across my life, even if it's for a lesson, it's like that is those are the most important people, frankly. Taught me a lot about myself and about the world I live in. So thank you, especially if you're not here now. For the people that will always be here, they already know I love them. So I love you still, though. I'll tell you, you deserve it. I reward loyalty. Okay, see you probably tomorrow at this point, but see you next time.